Hi. Um, Although I'm an auto locksmith, I get a huge amount of calls from people asking, can I do locksmith work? Most of it's basic locksmith work. Um, if it's something that I feel I can't do, then I'm just honest and say that it's not something I've got time for, because predominantly 80%, 90% I'm an auto locksmith. But over the lockdown, I thought that I would do a locksmith course. I searched the internet and read everything for probably 2 or 3 weeks. That's the kind of person I am. And eventually I decided to do the UK Locksmith Association locksmith course. So I thought I'd take this opportunity really to do a review of the course. Taking into account I am not associated or have anything to do at all with the UK Locksmith Association before taking this course. So let's look at the first one, which is hotels. What I found is when I booked my hotel, I assumed that the hotel would be running at some normality. If you decide to take this course during restrictions or during lockdown, when you book your hotel, ask them what facilities, if any, are still available. For example, my hotel wasn't doing breakfast, my hotel wasn't doing evening meals, and my hotel, the bar was closed. But there was other lads on the course who were staying at other hotels that were doing breakfast and were doing an evening meal. So what I would say to you is that if you book this course during any restrictions, any tiers, whether it's tier 1, 2, 3, 4, just check with the hotels what is available within that hotel. Arrival. On arrival at the UK Locksmith Association premises, there is good parking. There's an area just facing their main entrance where it can fit lots of different cars, so there's no problem with parking. Workshop. I didn't know what to expect, I've got to be honest with you. But when I got to the workshop is designed and kitted out pretty well. Everybody has their own kind of workstation, their own workbench. Everybody has got the same set of tools. Everybody has got the same drills, everything. So you're kind of responsible for that section, and at the end of the evening tidy it up. It looked well, it had everything that you needed. So the workshop itself was fine, there was no problems with that at all. Instructor wise, I think what was good with the instructors at the UK Locksmith Association was that they are working locksmiths. I think there's a lot of locksmiths out there that just now solely teach, and I suppose that's okay, but I suppose you do lose touch a little bit with what's going on in the real world. But the instructors at the UK Locksmith Association are all full-time working locksmiths, so their experience and their knowledge is really good. They're clear in what they explain to you. They try and help you obviously as much as they can, and hopefully they're there to have a chat to at breaks or at lunchtime or after the course finishes if there's anything that you're not too sure about. Number 5, workshop tools. As I've already mentioned, I mean, they had everything that you need. So they weren't short on anything. They weren't giving you cheap items or cheap tools to work with. Everything that they gave you to work with is what you would work with if you were working on a live job. Level of instruction, number 6. Their instruction is it's clear. It's good instruction. It's instruction from working locksmiths. You know, they know what they're talking about, and again, they're there to help you if they can. Number 7, intense. The course is intense because there is so much to cover. But what they do is they teach you how to deal with live jobs, really. An example is, I would go to a lockout and I would try and rake the lock first. If the lock wouldn't rake, then I would get my jiggler keys out. If my jiggler keys didn't work, I would get my bump keys out. If my bump keys didn't work, I would get my lockpick gun out. And when I arrived at the UK Locksmith Association, after a day or two, I kind of realised, why am I doing all that? Because if they've lost the keys, I might as well just snap the lock. Why am I messing about kind of doing it that way, really? So the course is intense, but there's a lot to take in. They give you notes on everything you do that day, so when you get back to your hotel room you can read and catch up. Knowledge. I think Adam and the instructors again have got great knowledge of what they're doing because they're working locksmiths. The one thing that scares me is mortise locks, and because I live by the seaside and by the coast, most doors here are wooden, and a lot of them have mortise locks, and mortise locks terrify me. And yet their knowledge and their understanding of mortise locks was brilliant, and I came away not 100% confident, but I came away with the knowledge that I could now continue to practice this at home, and either practice picking or drilling, whichever way I kind of preferred, really. So their knowledge is excellent. Cost. I think the cost works out about right. I don't think they're undercharging. I don't think they're overcharging. I think the cost for the facilities, I think the cost for the instructors, I think the cost for the items that you're given during the week. You know, all the mortise locks are mounted in wood. You know, there's a bit of cost involved for them. So, you know, the cost of the course, I think, is probably about right, really. So, number 10, how much do you learn? You do learn a great deal, but whether you take it all in is a difficult one. I mean, I learned a great deal, but then when I got home, my time was spent going over what we did, practicing on fitting mortise locks, practicing on drilling mortise locks, practicing on snapping, picking, practicing using my plug puller or cylinder puller, whatever people want to call it. Practice using my letterbox tool. So you do learn a lot, but the secret to anything, whether it's locksmith or auto locksmith, is practice. You've got to practice, and that's how it works, really. Number 11 is of course difficult. It's as difficult as you want it to be, really. I mean, you're learning something new, so whenever you learn anything new, it's never easy. But it's about coming away from there and then picking up that knowledge they've given you and then continuing to learn, because you don't just come away from this course and say I'm a locksmith, because a locksmith probably takes several years to become as knowledgeable as the instructors, but it gives you a basis for being a locksmith and carrying on. So it's as difficult as you want to make it. I would say it's not difficult, it's intense, and taking as much as you can, read your notes, and look online and look at other people doing things that you've been doing that day. Advanced mechanisms, number 12. There's an add-on to the locksmith course called Advanced Mechanisms. Now, I would say that out of every 10 calls that I get for locksmithing, I would say that probably 5 of them are problems to do with the mechanism on a UPVC door. Lucky for me, a lot of the time if I remove the mechanism, give it a good oil, put it back, it generally works. I've had to replace the odd 1 or 2, but you will get a high amount of calls that involve mechanisms on UPVC and mechanisms on composite. So I would advise anyone that if you're going to do the locksmith course with UK Locksmith Association, then add the advanced mechanisms onto the course, because it will be invaluable to you in the end. Again, we're in lockdown, we're in restrictions, so food, take your own food, take your own drinks. You can sit in your car at lunchtime, you can have your bottle of water on your bench, but I think at the moment it's probably the best policy to take your own food and drink with COVID knocking around. Will you be a locksmith when you finish the course? What you will be is you will be a locksmith that can go out and hopefully deal with the basics of locksmithing. So you should be able to fit night latches, you should be able to fit mortise locks. With practice you should be able to drill or open mortise locks. You should be able to snap, plug pull. You should be able to use a letterbox tool. So the basics are there for you, really. So you should be able to start taking on some work. Make sure you ask the right questions when they ring. The instructors will tell you what kind of questions to ask, but make sure you ask the right questions, and you'll know whether it's for you or not, that particular job. Number 17, vetted. One of the things that I think is really, really important is that not only are we vetted, but to a certain extent that we're tested, because there are so many people, I suppose, knocking about, unscrupulous people who claim to be locksmiths, who are overcharging, who are ripping elderly people off, who are even possibly going back and breaking into houses where they've fitted the locks and things. Now, they're not locksmiths, they're just chancers, people that are out just to turn the everyday person over. And I think it's important that not only are we vetted, so not only are we checked by the police, perhaps let's say every 5 years, but I think it's so important that we're also tested to some extent. So the thing that attracted me to the UK Locksmith Association is that you are vetted, and I think that is really, really important to a lot of people. If I was looking for someone to go to my grand's house, whether it be a plumber, whether it be a locksmith, a joiner, anybody, the first thing that would perhaps attract me to their advertisement or their webpage would be that the CRB checked. Overall, I would say that the course by the UK Locksmith Association was a really good course, very intense. You come away with a lot of knowledge, but as I tell anyone, whether it's locksmith or auto locksmith, practice, practice, practice. As an auto locksmith, when I sit down, I'm always picking. If I'm in the garage, I'm picking. If I'm at home and bored, I'll go and pick my car. I'll go and pick the neighbour's car. If I'm bored, I'll go and do a key for someone for another car. But it's practice, practice, practice. I think with anything, if you're not prepared to put the practice in, it can be a very difficult profession. But you've got to be able to put the work in. So for me, I give the UK Locksmith Association a thumbs up, and recommend them for anyone seeking a course to be a locksmith. But once again, I'm just giving a review on a course I've done. In no way am I tied in with the UK Locksmith Association. So, happy picking.